Hello and welcome to the second episode of the week, the Stash Chats extravaganza. So tonight we're going to be joined by Lauren, who was also on season 9 of The Sewing Bee that aired this year. So if you were able to join us last night, you will have seen me chat with Vicky. So Vicky was a fellow sewing and we also mentioned about the Mimi Quins custom mannequins, which Lauren is an ambassador for, so maybe we can talk a bit more about that. Hello Morgan, and yeah, do ask questions in the chat if you have anything that you want to ask Lauren. Hello Jessica, thank you everyone for joining live. Yeah, so just drop anything that you want to ask or say to Lauren in the chat and I will read them out. Also, I just want to say, Lauren, don't panic that the joining thing's not working. If you have watched before, you'll know that it always decides not to let the guest join the first time, and then it does let them join the second time. I don't know why Instagram likes to test our tenacity, but it happens every single live. So, yeah, I'm sure our regular viewers will be very much used to it by now. Just in case anyone's joining but they might not be able to stay for the whole episode, I will be uploading the episode to YouTube afterwards as well, and I will put in a timestamp for when Lauren joins if you want to skip my preamble at the beginning of the episode. So yeah, that will be up on YouTube as quickly as possible after this episode ends. So yeah, do comment and join in, because it's really great to, you know, get some engagement going. That's one of the positives of having the episode on the live, aside from the difficulties that Instagram likes to present us with. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, where are you guys all joining from? I hope you're all enjoying some lovely sewing projects at the moment. I have recently just got back from the knitting and stitching show in Harrogate. If you saw my recent reel, is the room behind you the scene of your stash up. So this is actually a different location again. So I'm actually visiting some family at the moment. So I'm in a different location from usual. So I can't show you any of my stash at the moment because I'm away. So we've got a new request from Lauren. Let's see if this one will work. But yeah, this does happen every time. So yeah, this is one of the downsides of having it live. Just going to take off my cardigan. I've got my new top on. So this is the Peony by Maison Fauve. So I don't know if you can see with this busy print, but it's got these like tucks in the shoulder that are really cute. And then I've done some button loops with buttons as well, which I think is quite cute. That's my first time of doing button loops. I think I probably could have gone a bit braver and made them a bit thinner, but we learned, don't we, with every sewing project. Let's see if we can get Lauren in to do the chat. Hello, thank you for joining, Diane. We're just waiting for Lauren to join the chat. As I've been saying, it takes a few attempts. I'm just going to send you a request, Lauren. Let's see if this one will work this time. So I'm doing a whole week of stash chats this week. Oh, I think I've got Lauren coming in. Hey, I can't see you, but we'll just carry on. Let us know in the chat if you can see Lauren, otherwise maybe we'll try again. Okay.
I can see you. I don't know if
let's just read this comment. Jessica says, I went to Harrogate Knitting and Stitching on Saturday and I've done a lot of spending. Excellent. Hello, Vicky. So Vicky was on yesterday's episode, so it was great to see Vicky's stash as well. So Sensation says yes, and Lawratu says yes. They can see you as well. Yay! So excellent.
Hey.
Let's get this episode going. Hello, Matthew, as well.
Oh, hey, Jessica. Hi, Matthew.
So how are you doing, Lauren?
I'm okay, thank you.
Nice.
I've just made myself a cup of tea. The kids are upstairs, so if you hear running about, it's the
blame
kids.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Adam.
We'll the kids.
So do you want to just kick us off with just telling us a little bit about your sewing journey and how you got into sewing?
Yeah. Hello, for anyone that hasn't seen me before, I'm Lauren and I was on this year's sewing bee. So my journey into sewing is quite new in that I've only been sewing 4 years, and I decided to pick up sewing after essentially seeing everyone sewing. And there was loads of different projects I kept seeing. My kids were young and I kept seeing them being really creative and going to all these like crafty things. And I've always been a crafty person, so I thought, no, let me give it a go. So I basically taught myself to sew, and then lockdown happened, so I could do a bit more sewing. And yeah, it's just gone from there. Started with quilt, and then decided to start garment sewing.
That's
There was a lot of
amazing.
fails, but
Like that you've only been sewing for such a short
yeah,
time, and then you've been brave enough to go on the bee. That's incredible.
definitely. So I think like someone commented on one of my posts being like, I can't believe you haven't been to the knitting and stitching show before. And I was like, hun, I've only been sewing 4 years, and like there was a lockdown in between. So there
And now
haven't
you're
been that
like
many
one of the
opportunities.
most famous people
But
there, so it must be like, oh, this is crazy.
oh, I know. And then I'm asking people advice and they're looking at me like I should be giving the advice. It's like, no,
So
we're all
did
in
you
this
have
together.
someone who was your like cheerleader to sign you up for the bee, or was it something you just decided to do yourself?
Um, no one, no one knew. So I did it myself. A lot of my family and friends didn't even know I could sew at the time of applying. So I would say my husband was definitely my cheerleader, and he said, go for it. He was one of the only people that knew. My grandma was the one that gave me my machine when I was 14. So she's probably been a indirect cheerleader into getting me into sewing. But again, didn't
So she
tell her
just saw you
about
on the
applying for the
TV and
bee.
was like, oh,
Um,
finally, Lauren's embraced the sewing.
oh, it's only taken, 15 years for her to get the sewing
Have
machine
you
out, but finally
found a
she's
lot
done
more
it.
people have been like, oh,
Um,
I didn't know you could sew. Will you take up my trousers?
yeah, yeah. Like there was one like local friend. I was catching up with her, and she was like, "All those times we were together with the kids, you never said you could sew," and I was like, "Because I couldn't. I couldn't sew then." So I think it's still very new. So it's still like an incredible journey to be on,
So
considering
was
yeah, it's
it
been
kind of like
4 years.
the social media community that like motivated you to it, or like people that you knew?
Definitely. I would say at least 80% is social media. So I did that thing of just making an Instagram, searching hashtags, looking at patterns that people had made. And I remember watching an episode of The Sewing Bee and being like, oh, that pattern's amazing. And I Googled it to find out if anyone was saying what the patterns were. And then I stumbled across the fold line, and that just like blew my mind. So then there was all those patterns out there to try. But definitely Instagram, definitely Instagram. A little bit Facebook, but more Instagram was definitely the community, and it felt like a safe space. You could just ask a question, and no one would gatekeep. They would just tell you like, yeah, this is what I did, and here's the
Yeah,
pattern, and
I find
it's
it
a good
so like
community. So
supportive of what as well. Like if you make something, even if it's something quite simple and you're like a beginner and you're like, this is me like just getting into sewing, everyone's like, oh my god, sewing's amazing. Like let's do. It's like,
yeah. Oh, you should do it, and you can do it, and there's no like, oh, you're a beginner, so maybe don't do that. Well, there is a bit of that, but most of it, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, give it a go. I've done this pattern, and here's how I did it, and this is the fabric I've used. So it is very, you know,
yeah. It's
kind.
great for like finding out about new stuff as well, like new pattern companies and shops and all this. Like because when you first get into it, you're a bit like, oh, I'll just buy some fabric on Amazon and then it arrives and it's terrible, and you're like, oh, okay. But like having, the indie
Oh,
businesses as well in the sewing community, I think is really important.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. And like the amount of online resources. So you've got so many good fabric shops, you've got so many good PDF pattern companies, and there's so much out there that you can just sit at home and have a bit of a Google and talk on Instagram, and suddenly
Yeah,
amazing
very
fabrics at your door.
dangerous. So do you want to introduce us to your stash? What's your stash?
So I won't introduce you to all of it because I am not the most organised sewist. I will admit that. So my stash is very much like Vicky in a Kallax
Adam
like
Rose is in a Kallax as
almost.
well. It's like the
Um,
staple of the sewing community, I think.
yeah, and I remember buying what I thought was a really massive Kallax, and I've just filled it. But the way I justify it is that it's multiple crafts in there, and it's also kids stuff, and we got colouring books thrown in, so it's very much like a used area of this room. But my stash, I would say, is a lot of remnant kind of pieces. When I got into sewing, I would just, if anything, I would just buy and not really have purpose or plan. So that I've kind of given to the kids now that they can use for any craft they want to do. And then my kind of stash moving forward is more, I feel like everyone knows, but I'm quite the minimal pattern person. So I do have a few patterned fabrics, but the majority of mine are like cottons. I love a cotton lawn. I love a cotton. I love plain fabric. So any like lovely linen. I went to Merchant and Mills in August, so a few purchases there. I've got, I don't know how to get it without destroying everything, but I've got oilcloth as well, and I'm about to make a coat from that. And yeah, just loads of like nice fabrics.
Oh, Jess saying that you were one of her favourite sewing bees. And they
Oh, oh, I'm gutted I didn't get to see you, Jessica. I'm so sorry. I was there for Friday and Saturday, but it was a
and it's so
whirlwind. Like it
busy at the
just,
shows as well. It's a bit crazy sometimes.
Harrogate was very. I think it's probably smaller than Ali Pali, but as many stall holders, so it
Everything's
feels more
in the like
intimate,
separate
which is a
rooms
shame.
as well. There seem to be so many different rooms. I was like, are we in the right room? No, there's still another room, and then there's the other rooms.
Yeah, I got really confused, and I tried to look at the map, and that didn't help me. And yeah, I
Yeah,
just ended up
I
in
was
one room and
looking on the
stayed
map
there.
to get somewhere, and so I was like, okay, Higgs and Higgs is there, so I'll find Higgs and Higgs on the map, and then we'll go from there. But there was actually two Higgs and Higgs stalls,
Yeah,
like really threw me.
I was going to say Higgs and Higgs always have more than
Yeah,
one.
so that didn't help. I feel like that's a massive flex though to have two
Oh,
stands at a show like that.
yeah,
I just,
yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure. Like Jessica, I went on the Friday, and it was also really busy on the Friday. So you might not have gone to, you might not have had a worse experience from going on the Saturday. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Um, no, it would be nice if
Yeah.
hopefully I could go again. Harrogate was a
Yeah.
really nice place, so I would like to, yeah, have a venture
So
over
do you want to tell us about the
there. Yeah.
project that you made for the show, the Bargello edit waistcoat that you did? Oh, nice! I can't see
I'm wearing
you,
it
but
now.
amazing.
Oh yeah, you still can't see. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I was at the Bargello stand, and I had some of the fabric before. I think it was at Ali Pali I picked them up. And I didn't know what to make, so I decided to make a quilted vest. I don't know why, but I decided that was the right thing to do. And I even quilted, so you can see that well, you can't
I'll see
see,
it on
but
the
try not to, I
replay.
hope. um, oh, perfect. So I quilted the fabric, and I kind of mimicked the quilting, or the pattern for my quilting. So that was quite a fun project. It was a nice project because it came together quite quickly. Everyone was laughing because on Friday I hadn't actually finished, so I brought it with me to Harrogate and did their hand stitching and just hand sewed all the binding on, which I enjoy doing. So I did that on Friday, and essentially I've worn it ever since. So I love it because I've made it reversible, so I can wear it. Very much me, just plain black fabric, but then also a bit of pop of colour, and wear it the other way as well. So it's
So
a
when you
good mate. I
saw
did enjoy
like
it.
Narissa's range that she released and all the different colorways, you were just like black and white. Yeah, there we go. That's
Wow, that's the one. That's the one. I was like, I love them all, and I love Narissa, so obviously I was like, okay, I have to support. But then I was like, babe, you've literally given me one option. I did actually buy the other one though. There's another swirly one which is brown and pink, and I put it up against myself, and I really liked it. And
yeah,
then I think Vicky bought some as well, and she's made something with it. But the fabrics are gorgeous. They're like a
yeah.
cotton
They're like
lawn
so
and really, really soft.
buttery,
So
aren't they? Like originally, I was like, it's
yeah,
like a viscose or something, but it's just a super super fine cotton. So yeah, if you can get your hands on
right.
some, I would recommend. Hello, so pretty, so
Yeah.
mindful, and Yoga by Dr. Sows, but Yoga Bird Sows. Hello, thank you for joining us live. And in the
I can't
chat
see any more of
if
the
you've got any
comments, so you're going
questions
to
for
have to read
Lauren
it.
about her stash or her style or the sewing bee or anything you want to know about.
Oh, lovely.
So what colours do you go for then? Are you mostly sort of monochrome, or have you got a few colours that you go for as well?
I would say if you were to say what colours, it would basically be monochrome. So I love neutrals, I love black, white, I like linen, I do love patterns and I love more abstract kind of patterns. So I made a slip skirt and it is quite bright and colourful, but it's like abstract, so I can kind of justify it a bit more. I love a pattern if it's on like a dark
Yeah,
base because then I think I can just utilise it a bit more. But for me, I think I prefer neutrals because I can style them a lot more, so I can wear them. They can
yeah.
integrate into the
Mix and
wardrobe.
match.
Whereas patterns I find a bit, yeah, I find a bit daunting because I just don't know what else to wear with it. So I'll make, like I made a patina blouse and I love it and it's floral. I never wear it because I just don't know what else to put with it. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely a neutral
So we've
person.
got a couple of questions come in. So
Oh,
I'll read them
yeah.
out
I
for
can't see any
you.
of them, so
So
you do the
Health
talking.
also says, how do you choose
Yeah.
your next project? Do you stick to a plan or do you become easily distracted?
Oh, a bit of both. I try to stay organised and plan ahead. So at the minute, I really want to sew a coat, and that's like the top of my list. But then other projects do sneak in. So then I think, oh, actually, I could just make this t-shirt quite quickly. Maybe I'll just do that. But I try to sew.
Yeah.
In theory, I'd like to sew before the season. But what actually happens is that I'm sewing in the season. So I would have loved to make this winter coat in the summer, but
So
realistically, I'm now making it whilst it's
for the
cold.
coat, are you
So
thinking
I
of
kind
making
of,
like a wool coat
yeah.
or is this your oilcloth waterproof coat?
To be fair, I've got a bit of a coat obsession at the minute. So I've got the oilcloth and I want to make a September coat with that. But then I've also got some wool and I want to make like a kind of tailored, fitted kind of black, obviously, coat because surprisingly I don't have a black coat. Yeah. So I think that will be the next one. So I try and plan. But then I get a lot of inspiration from like what's on the high street and what shops have. So then I'll see something like a few times and I'm like, oh, actually, I really want to make that. That
So
gets
do you
shoved up the
still
list
quite
a little
often
bit.
like go to the high street stores just to like look and see what's there and try on different styles and see what you like?
Yeah, I don't think I try on, but I'm definitely an online fashion stalker. So I'll just sit and look up what's new, like in the shops that I love, and then I'll try and recreate it, or I'll find a similar pattern, or that'll give me inspiration to make something. So yeah, it's a lot of online. I was a big online shopper before sewing, so I think I still get my
Yeah.
fix of online shopping, but I don't actually have to buy
It's a
anything.
very
I can just make
satisfying feeling
it.
being like, yeah, I know the pattern for that. I could make that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love being
Yeah.
able to think, oh, that looks like that pattern. Or if I just hack that a bit, I can make it like this.
Yeah.
So that is fun.
So Pretty
Superpower.
So Mindful says, what are you working on right now? I suppose maybe your coat?
No, actually, before the coat, I've just cut out some pajamas. So I've got some double gauze and I'm making some double gauze pajamas. I'm using the Agnes pajamas, I think they are, by Paper Theory. I've not sewn that pattern
No.
before, but so far I like them. Just cutting them out. So I've just cut those out. I'm going to interface and then I'll get sewing. I
Yeah.
normally try and batch cut, so I don't cut the same day I sew. So I normally have projects
So
ready
did you
to
find it
start
like
sewing.
quite a lot then on the beat, have to cut out and then sew and then get it all done in one go?
And put it on the mannequin and roll it up. Yeah, that was intense. Because normally I split my sewing up into smaller sections just to try and squeeze it in. So it was a bit intense. I don't think I solidly
Yeah, I mean,
sewed for
well,
five
I was
hours
talking
normally.
to Vicky about this yesterday, and she was like, "No, obviously I don't do that. Does anyone do that?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, Tony, Tony does."
Yeah. Totally does. Tony does, yeah. Tony will think of a project and have it sewn up in like 3 hours. I'll think of a project and it will be in my head for at least 3 months before I
You've
even
got to let
think
that
of
idea
doing it.
percolate and think, do I really want to do this? And then
I
suddenly you get the inspiration,
know.
you're like, it's happening now.
And then because in my head I am thinking, oh, I know how to sew that. I just physically don't do it. I'm like, I know how to make these pajamas. I can just do those really quickly. No.
We've got we've got quite a big question here from Yoga Bird Sews, which is just what is it like being on the sewing bee? So you've got your summary of your bee
Oh,
experience.
what is it like? Intense, definitely a roller coaster. Moments of it feeling very overwhelming, but also really satisfying and really welcoming and wholesome. So everyone on that set and even behind the cameras and all the people that you don't see are really lovely. So although it can feel overwhelming at times, and it definitely did feel overwhelming, you felt like you were in a safe space just with really like-minded people, and like the level of care was like second to none. So it felt really nice to just be in that space,
Yeah.
but also very surreal. So there's still moments I completely forget
You
that
did
that
feel
even
like really
happened.
proud of yourself after every day and be like, I can't believe you achieved all of that.
Oh, honestly, yeah, considering how new I felt into sewing, I was just so grateful for like every challenge I got through. And I was like, I've just sewn something in that time. And I've just, thought of something and made it out of a windbreaker. Like, that's amazing. And then I definitely had like personal goals um, of just like moments that I wanted to get through. So, like West Africa Week for me was a real personal kind of episode, and I just really wanted to get to that just to talk about like heritage and my family. And there was definitely like a drive for me to get to that. And then I think the next one I really wanted to get to was Children's Week, because I sew for my children. I really wanted them to see mummy on TV. I just, everyone has that little thing that is just there. That's where I want to get. And for me, that was Children's Week. So once I got through Children's Week, it was just a blur, because I was like, wait, I thought this would be it. I really wanted to get here, and now I'm here.
Yeah, that
It,
Liberty
it was,
dress
it
you
was
made on the
really weird.
Children's Week was so cute as well. I think the model was amazing as well. Like she was so sweet and so confident. It was
Oh,
amazing.
my model was incredible, and I'm not gonna lie, like I love Children's Week because I'm definitely very maternal and I love kids. So we had to walk into the green room and I just burst out crying because I missed my children so much, and there was like little mini versions of them just walking around, and I was like, oh god. But my model was so cute. She was Liverpudlian, and I'm not even going to do a Liverpudlian accent, but she
Like,
was amazing. And no, she loved my dress, and my daughter then watched it and was like, oh, Mummy, I love that dress.
yeah.
Because when they show you clips of what's going to happen. And she was like, Mummy, I love that dress.
Oh,
And I
and then
did
she
tell
was
her
probably
that's the one
so
I
amazed and
we just
surprised, like,
for that.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I know. So now we get all our makes back. So when that dress came back, it's probably like my most precious make. Well, it was made out of Liberty fabric, so obviously quite precious. But we put it up against my daughter, and it's way too small. so So I think I'm going to have to make another one, because she said to me, can you make it for me? Because I really want one. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
yeah.
So I think
Has
I'm
to
going to
be
recreate
done.
that
I think
dress.
as well, like if a kid says that they
Yeah.
like it, like kids don't have the tact to be like, yeah, it's great. Like if a kid likes it, they actually like it. So
Yeah.
are you really trying to
They actually, yeah. Oh, and kids are brutally honest, especially my children, when it comes to my sewing. So the fact that she was like, Mummy, I love it. I'm like, right, let's do it. Let's make
amazing?
this
And you've got
work.
to make the most of them like requesting things to have made before they become like too cool for it, and they're like, yeah,
Exactly. She also
oh,
likes
that's so
matching
cute.
with me, and yeah, she doesn't. She still thinks that's cool. So she's 8 at the minute. So I'm just going to try and push her as many matching outfits as I can before she's too cool and
Yeah,
doesn't want to be wearing the
yeah,
same
right.
clothes as me.
Jessica said of the three challenges, like the and challenge, the
Yeah.
transformation to measure, which one was your favourite one
Mhm.
to do of a week on the sewing bee?
I thought the made to measure would be my favourite, because I thought that was the one where you can showcase your style and your identity a bit more. So I think pre-filming, I thought that would be the one that I love.
Mm.
And I was really worried about transformations because I just thought I wasn't creative enough and I take too long to think of ideas. But actually, when it came to it, I really enjoyed the transformations. I didn't think I would, but I think it's because you could just be creative and just not think and just, enjoy the fun of it, and just if something comes of it, it comes of it. It doesn't matter because ultimately you're sewing with things that shouldn't be
Did
sewn
you find
together.
it
So just have
like
fun.
by the end, like whatever you ended up with is somewhat of a surprise? You're like, okay, that's not what I was going to make, but that's what it is.
Wow, that's how it's gonna work. Yeah, and I think at the beginning I
Mm.
was thinking too much about transformations, whereas by the end I was like, you know what? Let's just throw it on. Let's just get creative. Let's see what happens. And I started to really enjoy them, and I think I started to let go a bit, and that was nice because it felt a bit more. I don't know, a bit
Yeah,
less of a challenge and just a
I
bit more
feel like as
creative.
well sometimes
Yeah.
like you don't like the transformation challenge is where you can really go crazy, and I think sometimes the judges are a bit like, oh, you've played it a bit safe here, like it's your challenge to make something that you wouldn't actually wear but it's like creative.
Yeah, I think sometimes you think of them as like
Yeah.
practical outfits. I only sew practical things, so for me to then make something that's not practical, it just yeah, like I've made an outfit out of like a clear plastic. Like, what am I doing with
There's a
that?
reason that nobody makes things out of artist canvases and shower curtains.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a reason. Like, first of all, the machines do not like it, and
Yeah,
but I mean, it's fun.
and
It was
you're
fun.
all in it together as well, which must make it a lot less stressful.
I think because the transformations are so quick as well, you wouldn't really look up, and you'd have a moment where you'd look up and be like, "Whoa, guys,
Vicky, what have you
what are we
done with that
doing?"
jumpsuit and crotch? That's a lot.
No, that was hilarious because I think we all looked up and we were like, "Vicky, there's a triangle. Can you see that?"
Yeah, Vicky says she doesn't have that anymore. I'm like, it's going to live in our hearts
I'm
forever. You're not doing
gutted.
it.
That could have been, that could have gone into a museum. I just feel like as an
Yeah.
archive piece, it needed
So have you
it needed
kept
to
all of your
stay.
pieces that you made during the bee?
Yeah, I've kept all of mine. Admittedly, some of them I don't know what I'm going to do with. A lot of the transformations. I wore my
Amazing.
Scary Spice transformation recently. My art one, the one that we made out of a canvas, I kind of want to keep and showcase, but I don't know how. So I've just put it on my spare mannequin at the minute. My
Oh,
son wears the dressing gown. Any of the patterns that fit me, I've tried to wear or keep. So I'm trying to use as many as I can. The bag, that's practical. I've used that a few times.
Marjorie says, when you're like planning a project, what comes first? Do you choose the fabric or the pattern first?
Oh, it depends what I see first, if I'm honest. So if I see a fabric, I can think of a pattern, and if I see a pattern, I can think of a fabric. So I think I normally just think of the end thing. So if I see a fabric, I'm like, oh, I've seen a coat that looks like that with that fabric. Or sometimes I see a pattern and I'm like, oh, I've seen a pattern that looks just like that. Let me try and find the fabric. So I think it's a mix of the two. Um, I got some wools recently from Rainbow Fabrics, and I definitely just knew what those would be. So I looked at those wools and I was like, right, that's going to be that kind of coat, and that's going to be a less
It's
formal
like
coat.
the
So I think
inspiration's
it's a
already in there.
mix.
You just need to see the fabric, all the patterns, so that you
Yeah.
can like get there.
Put them
Amazing.
together.
Oh, I've seen the Asthma's join. So hello, Asthma. Doug's Gran was like, "Oh, you're gonna get the lady doctor on from this series." And you were on this week. I was like, "No, she's not on this week, but maybe in a future episode, I'll have to get you on, Asthma. You've been requested."
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Um, right. So do let us know in the comments if you've got any more questions for Lauren. Do you have any pieces that you want to show us, Lauren, or anything you want to tell us about of your projects or your stash?
Oh, what pieces have I got to show? I've actually just got this is one of the patterns that I'm going to make. You can't see it, but it's the Know Me pattern. I love Know Me pattern. Although I'm a PDF lover, I feel like Know Me patterns have just given me that new lease of life when it comes to the big four,
It's
now the big
the
five,
spark,
actually.
isn't it? It's just like
So,
the modern details to it.
oh, I love her. Definitely. So she's very much like the modern take on patterns, which I love. And so I picked up this pattern, which is the ME2001, which is a coat, and it's a lined coat. And I'm going to use one of the wools, which I have here actually. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
yeah,
people
please
can give
do.
me an opinion on this. Okay, so Asma and I have the same fabric actually. So it's a wool from Rainbow Fabrics, and it's a really lovely camel colour. However, I'm thinking for the lining, because I don't know what to do with this fabric. I've got a floral fabric which has some of the same colours of the main fabric, so I thought that could look quite nice as the lining. So it can be like a pop of colour. So when you open up the coat, I've got like a nice floral fabric on the inside. So I can't see comments, but yeah, do let me know, because I think that would look quite nice instead of just getting rid of this fabric, which I love, but I'm never going to use on
Yeah,
its own
Natalie says that
because
looks like a nice combo.
actually,
So Yoga Bird
oh,
says nice color
thanks.
combo as well. So
Yeah, I think they'd look really nice together. The only thing, I've not sewn a coat before, and I could be making this up completely, but I feel like with the sleeves, it needs to be quite a slippery fabric in order to get it on and make it quite practical. So I don't know if that would just be the lining for the bodice part of the coat, or if it'll be the lining for the sleeves as well. I think I have enough to do the sleeves, but I just thought that would be a nice way to utilise
we've got
this
another
floral
couple of thumbs
fabric.
up votes for the fabric and the wool combo. So yeah, good.
Okay, okay, but that, I think that's what we're going to do. So we'll use this pattern and these fabrics, and fingers crossed, by the
Yeah.
time winter's
I
over,
mean, the
we'll
winter
have a
always
coat.
drags on for so long as well. I kind of feel like done after Christmas, but it's still like until mid-March, it's still really
Yeah,
cold. So you've got,
essentially we have till April, don't we? It's fine, because, and even when
yeah.
it is spring, it's still cold, so
Yeah,
it'll be
Natalie
fine.
says you could always use a separate slippery fabric for the arms if you wanted bold.
I thought that, yeah, like a nice slippy lining just for the sleeves. Maybe I'll do that. But I haven't sewn a coat before, so I think this will definitely be a slow kind of project, because I want to do it nicely and take a bit of time with it. Um, Other than that, what other projects have we got? I definitely want to do some Christmas projects, but I always leave it too
So you're
late.
making for other
So
people like gifts and things.
yeah. Oh, actually, I saw a pattern today, a free pattern by
Oh,
Merchant and
nice.
Mills. They've got a hot water bottle cover, and I thought that could be a cute gift for people. Use up some scrap fabrics, and as well as the
Yeah.
scraps, keep them warm. So maybe, I mean, if anyone is now expecting this for Christmas Day, I wouldn't hold your breath. It may be next Christmas, but yeah, definitely a few projects. I think this time of year, like I've also just picked up a fabric from, I was in Lincoln the other week, and there was a lovely Christmassy fabric which I want to make a Christmas dress. I think for my daughter, and I think I'm going to use the same pattern that I used on the bee for Children's Week, but just do a Christmassy version. Um, and because I have sewn it so many times now, in my head it won't take long, and it probably
Did
will.
you
So
sew
maybe I
your
should
made
start
to
that
measures
soon.
like a few times to practice them then?
um, I don't know if this is what everyone else did, but I kind of made sure my made to measures were patterns that I've either sewn already, that I was comfortable with, or that I wanted to sew so I could practice, if that made sense. So a few of the patterns that I did for made to measures I'd sewn already. If I hadn't sewn them already, I'd wanted to sew them, so I just used the practice as a
Yeah.
way for me to get a nice dress out of it. Ironically, the only one that I hadn't sewn was the one that failed me, which was the smoking jacket. So that's probably the only one that I hadn't practiced or would have sewn in my everyday. But the majority of the made to measures, like a few of the dresses, I did a mini shirt, that dress I did for my daughter, all of those things I'd kind of sewn already. So I just thought that would give me a bit of breathing space, in that it's an intense period to like sew something. So to just be like reading the instructions and trying to understand the instructions, it wasn't the time on sewing bee. Like you needed to have been confident enough
Yeah,
to sew
and
it
you've got
start to finish.
experience in the pattern
So yeah,
challenge as well. So.
exactly. So like my swimming costume, I think I've probably got about 5 versions of that because I kept trying different ways. And I tried to just,
Yeah.
yeah, I made clothes that I would wear. So it was quite easy to practice
Well,
it
it's good
because I
as
could
well
then
that
just
you
wear
were
it.
able to like
So
showcase your own style and like be authentic to yourself as well on the
yeah,
show.
definitely. Yeah, and I think I found that at first quite daunting. Especially that first challenge, our first made to measure. I remember Patrick commenting on the fact that I was the only person to use a plain fabric without a print.
Yeah.
And when he said it, I panicked because I thought, oh, now I've messed up. But then he was like, oh, actually, I kind of like it. And I was like, whew,
Yeah.
okay,
I
great,
find it
thank
harsh when
you.
they like
And it,
comment a lot on the fabric, or they're like, "This is really good because I like the fabric." I'm like, but that's not where the skill is, really.
yeah, yeah. And then I think a disadvantage of always
Yeah.
having plain fabrics is that I had nowhere to hide. So for like, I remember the slip dress that I did for the 90s week. I picked a black bamboo silk, which was gorgeous, and it was so lovely to work with. But there was no wiggle room. Like I did a bias cut dress, like any slip of a stitch, it would be obvious. I couldn't hide in the pattern. But yeah,
So
still
Jessica
fun.
said, "What was the first ever sewing pattern that you made or bought?"
Okay, so I am a YouTube girly. So a lot of the first kind of sewing patterns for dresses were watching a YouTube where they'd be like, right, cut this rectangle and then cut another rectangle and you now have a dress. So I did a few like tiered dresses, but the one that was an ultimate fail was a McCall's pattern. I cannot think of it. There were a few, but there was a McCall's pattern and I can picture it. It's like a bodice and it's got tiers and then it's got a sleeve with like a ruffle. And I sewed it out of a heavyweight curtain fabric and I used heavyweight interfacing because I had no clue that interfacing had weights. So it was, imagine just
Like,
like
ski.
a duvet, but worse. Like a starchy kind of boxy.
Yeah.
I really should find a picture of it. It was dreadful. It was absolutely dreadful. And I remember looking at it, looking in the mirror and thinking, I'm confused because I'm watching all these girls make these things and
I
that
think
doesn't look
it's like a rite
right.
of passage, though, to
Um,
absolutely like flop your first project. Yeah.
I think you
And
have
I
to.
like
Like, I
talking
think
to
you have
Vicky
to.
yesterday, she said that her
Um,
first proper project was attempting to make herself a wedding dress. So like the stakes were way too high there.
she, I mean, she went top tier there. Like, that is
Yeah.
a commitment. I don't think I was that committed. Um, Another pattern that I sewed quite a lot early on was a Tilly and the Buttons. Are
Yeah.
they the Jamie pajamas?
Yeah.
Like the pajama bottoms. So I made a few of those and they're a really nice beginner friendly kind of pattern. So I made matching pajamas for me and my husband. Um, but yeah, I was just obsessed with trying to make this gathered dress work and it wouldn't work. And then thinking back, it wasn't even my style. Like it was just a pattern that everyone was sewing. So I just thought, this is what I have to sew. But I don't think I would even wear
You
it
think of you
now.
as
I
like a
don't know where it
gathered
is.
tiered skirt girl.
I don't think of me as that. It's weird how sometimes you just think, oh, I need to sew that because everyone's sewing
Yeah.
it. And that's another thing that I think I'm definitely
Just like
learning.
getting more into
That
your own style and like what is for you.
yeah, yeah, some things just aren't for me. And I think like I have made a few tiered gathered dresses, but I don't think
Yeah.
I reach them. Like the wild gown, wilder, whatever. I've sewn that a few times, but then I don't reach for it. So yeah, I think it's definitely sometimes sew what you actually want to wear, not what
Yeah.
Instagram are wearing.
Yeah. There's definitely certain patterns that become like the pattern of the moment and you're just like, I wasn't gonna buy it, but it's like now it
Yeah.
feels like I need to. Um
Yeah. Like there's the other McCall's one, which I made because everyone was making.
I
M7,
know which
I
one you
don't know
mean,
numbers, I
just
never
from
promise patterns.
that description.
Like the, yeah, like the McCall's pattern. And I made that maybe two and a bit years ago. I probably wore it that one time for the picture, and that was it. And I just couldn't figure out why I didn't like it. So I realised it's because I made it in a pale green double gauze, which I'm never going to wear. So I dyed it black,
Great.
and now I live in it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's like actually quite a good point about you can just dye stuff like and it can change it so much. Like
Yeah.
I've used those ones that you just go in the washing machine before, and it's so easy.
Yeah. To be fair, more people were concerned about my washing machine than my actual dress, which made me laugh. Like loads of people were like, "What happens if you dye the washing
Yeah,
machine?" I'm
you just
like,
wipe it.
"Guys,
It's fine. It's fine. Oh,
it's
washing.
absolutely fine." Yeah, but then ironically, it took 2 attempts to get it like jet black because it just wasn't picking up the colour enough. So I ended up using, I think it's Rip Dye, where I
Yeah.
had like, it felt like a cauldron. I was just mixing
As
for
well, you've got
hours.
your
But yeah, I
bubbling
wear that a lot
black
more.
liquid that you're standing over. Quite
Yeah. I like such a witch. Exactly. But yeah, I definitely think fabric choice and patterns, you start to realize your style with it. So even if it is a pattern that everyone is sewing, often you may not see yourself wearing it because everyone's sewing
yeah.
it in fabrics that aren't you. And then you see it in a, well, for me, I see it in a plain fabric and I'm like, now I like it.
Where are your favourite places to buy plain fabrics?
Ah, um, plain fabrics,
Yeah.
I think, are quite hard to buy online in that you never know the quality. And I think it's obvious if the quality isn't great on a plain fabric. So, Semi Sunshine has gorgeous plains. Um, Rainbow Fabrics when they've got some, but that's like as and when. Um, my
Yeah.
favourite is probably Merchant and Mills. They've got really nice plains.
Yeah.
Is it Draper's Daughter? Not ordered from them, but I'm forever stalking their fabrics because they look gorgeous. Cloth House, New Craft House. There's quite a few online. Um, Essentially, anywhere that I think gives a really nice
Yeah.
description on the fabric is the place to shop. So when they can like thoroughly explain the fabric to you, especially like if it's opaque or not or anything, I think that's always a good indication of like a a place I will
So
shop
Jessica
again.
says, are there like what sort of prints don't you like on a fabric?
Oh, what don't I like? I don't know if I'm going to upset people. I don't like clashing prints. So it's not that I don't like a print, but I don't like a print with another print on the same outfit. So I don't know if you're wearing like a floral print top and then another floral print. The exception to my rule is I love Liberty prints, but I love them more for my children. I love them for my daughter. So I do love florals and prints, but I just see it more as
Yeah.
what I would make
Your
for her.
personal style, but you can
Um,
see the
yeah. And I think it's not that I don't love a pattern or a print. It's just I can never think of what it will look
yeah.
like. Whereas with a plain, it's plain, so I know that the pattern's going to look fine. Whereas the prints, it's too late by the time I've made it, so it's it's a big commitment. Like I do have quite a few prints. There's a lady, I say Lady McElroy, but I think it's Lady McElroy. I'm not sure, but that was one of the prints that I bought, which I loved, and it's like a, oh, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
It's like brushstrokes, so it's just loads of colour, but it's just very abstract, and I love that. Um, but maybe I think that ditzy florals don't
Sometimes
suit me.
you're
I
like,
don't
it's
know.
nice, but it's not me. Like I don't know, maybe you or the
Yeah,
wrong
I love
colours
it.
or something
And
like that. Yeah.
I think my downfall is when you go to places like the Knitting and Stitching show, I gravitate towards them because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. I end up buying a couple of meters. I get home and I'm like, now what? That was nice, but what? Like this, I think this one I bought last year, the one that I'm going to use as the lining, and I still love it. I love that it's a dark background, but still a ditzy
Yeah.
print. But I just can't think what to make with it. It just I don't know.
Mimi Quinn
Talk to me a
says, what do you
bit.
think about black and navy? I guess as a combo together. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I think it looks really nice. I know there's, some people say like certain colours shouldn't go together, but I think if you style them nicely, they look really, really nice. I think I can imagine like a nice navy kind of, I don't know, trousers and then a massive black coat. I think that could look quite nice. Or denim.
Yeah.
Denim goes with black
I
really
feel like denim
nicely.
is just so neutral, like it just
Yeah.
goes with everything.
I know. I'm on the hunt for like the perfect denim at the minute because I want to make some jeans um, in the future. So a really nice like rich denim
Mimi,
shade would be
they
gorgeous.
they like the denim, the navy and black as well, and it's like all the textures as well, having different
Yeah.
textures together.
Oh, oh, I love a good texture. Yeah, I definitely like
Yeah.
textures over pattern, and I think that's a lovely way of like
I
having a bit
think
of a pattern
the
without having too
textures
much
as
of a
well can
pattern.
like add a lot of like depth to an outfit and like make it look more expensive.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I just like that
Mm.
look of just having like a double gauze. I love a double gauze because you've got that nice little bumpy effect. Um, I've got a Merchant and Mills. Actually, I have it. One of their I don't know what they call it. I think it's like their quilted cottons, and it's like layers and layers of just pure
Um,
gorgeousness, and it's just all quilted and looks so pretty. So I think I'm going to make another waistcoat actually because I've just become obsessed with wearing them. I didn't
okay.
think I'd like it, but I love it.
We've got a question from Luke who says, if you could dress any celebrity, who would you pick and what would you make for them?
Thanks, Luke. I would make an outfit for Georgia Smith, and that is because she is from where I live, so she's like a local sensation. But once, essentially, our road is very quiet, and one night there was music playing really, really loud, and the kids were sleeping. So my husband decided to do that thing of like going outside and telling them to turn their music down. So he like knocked on the window. I was like, "Can you please turn your music down?" And what he didn't realise is that it was Georgia Smith, and I, I feel really guilty and I feel really embarrassed that my husband told Georgia Smith to turn her music down. So I feel like I need to make her an outfit just to say sorry. And I love her style and I love what she wears. So I think that would be a really nice one. Um, Another person I love is a woman called Candice Brathwaite, and she is quite like, I guess, big in the fashion kind of community. But again, I love what she wears. I love her style in videos. I love it. So I'd love to just make her something and then it
And
appear
they'd be like,
everywhere.
this is a Lauren original. And you'd be like,
Yeah.
do you tend
That
to
would
make
be
stuff for other
amazing.
people or do you mostly just like make for yourself and your family?
Myself and family, I do make occasionally for other people. Um, but I do
I
find it
feel
quite
like your
daunting to make for other
stand
people.
becomes so much higher when it's for someone else. You're just like, yeah, I'm unpicking this bit. No.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure about that seam allowance. And like the irony is, the person
Yeah.
who's sewing
They
them
probably buy
needs
all
to
their
sew.
clothes from H&M and they fall apart in 3 weeks and they're like, wow, this is
Exactly. Yeah, they've got no idea that I've just French seamed all of the shirt. They don't know, do they? So I think, yeah, I do sew for other people. It just depends what it
how
is
much
and
you
if I
like
enjoy
them.
it. Yeah, and honestly, like with the kids and still working and everything, it's really intense to like try and squeeze in enough sewing for myself. So definitely prioritize my own makes first.
So have you been sewing with your new Mimi Quinn's custom mannequin?
Yeah, I have been. She's here. Let me get her. You can't
They're in the
see.
chat.
It's so
They are
frustrating.
here.
But
Yeah.
oh, they're here. Hi. So it's really hard to get her in frame. But yeah, this is my body double. My kids
Oh,
call it the mummy mannequin. So they're like, "Hi, mummy mannequin. Hi, real mummy." Um, so yeah, it's been fun so far with it because it's. I guess I'm presuming people watched the live yesterday where we mentioned them, but if you didn't, so the ladies that are in the chat, they make mannequins to your measurements. So they do a 3D scan of your measurements, and then with that, they'll then make a mannequin. So this mannequin is like my actual copy, like my body double. So with all the measurements, they can then just create all of your like curves and edges. And from that, then it just opens up like your sewing, because it means that fit issues or any alterations that I have to make, I can kind of make quite quickly. So I am planning to make a skirt soon, and normally I'd make a whole toile of it, but essentially I've just cut out the pieces. I'm going to stick them on the mannequin, and if they fit on the mannequin, they're going to fit on me, roughly. So yeah, that's my plan with it. But it's so fun
Yeah.
because I can make things very
So
fitted
you used it
and
for
try
fitting
them
so
on the
far
mannequin.
rather than draping.
Yeah, well, I want to make a, I've got so many things I want to make. Just talking about it now, it just makes it so obvious. I want to make, and I've started, a boned corset kind of bodice, strapless. So I just got loads of pieces of calico and kind of just pinned them to the mannequin. From that, I then traced out some pieces, and I've got a front, a side, a back for a corset. So I'm then going to sew that up in just some like scrap fabric, try it on, and then I'll sew it in the real fabric and bone it. So it's going quite well so far. And it means that I can just skip out loads of parts, and I can just make it really
I feel
fitted
like
to my body,
sometimes
which is
starting from
great.
scratch, like with a pattern specifically for your measurements, is easier than like getting a different one that doesn't quite fit and then trying to figure out which bits you need to
Yeah,
change.
yeah. I made
Yeah.
the Rose Cafe bustier last year, and that was a fun process, but it did take quite a few twirls because I had to try it on, alter it, try it on, remeasure, try it on. Like it took quite a few attempts to make that. Whereas now I can bypass all of that, just get some calico, have a bit of a play, and then just quickly whiz something up on the machine and see if it fits. And then if it doesn't, I've not wasted that much, like precious time on it. So definitely some draping. I loved draping on the bee. I didn't
Yeah, I
realise
feel
I
like
liked
it's
draping
not
until I did
kind of
it.
a,
So
I don't know, I think in the Instagram sewing community, everyone's quite focused on like patterns. So just like getting
yeah,
into draping and like knowing where to start. And I guess having a mannequin that is the same size as you like massively helps with that as well.
yeah, yeah. Because I saw, I don't know who it was. Someone made a pattern recently, and I thought, oh, that'd be a good one to recreate. And it was basically just, it looked like a massive
Amazing.
bow across the chest, but it's the way that they've like manipulated the fabric in order to do that. And I thought, oh, that could be quite nice. So I am definitely going to get some draping in, because you can make
Yeah,
some
that
really, really
sounds
nice
so
patterns just
cool.
from
Yeah,
draping.
speaking of recreating, fellow bee
Yeah.
Matthew says if you could recreate someone else's garment from the bee, which would you pick and recreate in your style?
Ah! Not yours, Matthew. Whose would I recreate? Oh, I know which one. I would love to recreate it, but I could never do it justice. Um, I'm only joking, Matthew. He's probably going to be mean to me, but if I was to recreate one of his, it would be his first one, the first transformation that we did, and they said that it was very Comme des Garçons, very Vivian Westwood, and it was like very Matthew. That would be the one I'd recreate of his. But another one that I'd recreate would be, I think it was 90s Week, Asma's fitted dress that had, it was like the
Yeah,
fishtail with the
and
cups.
it
I'm
fits
obsessed.
so well as well, didn't it? It was
If
amazing.
I if I could squeeze into that, yeah. I'd love to recreate something like that, but I would probably have to sit with asthma for at least 1 to 2 months to try and get
Get
that.
the expert tuition. Yeah, Matthew says I
Exactly.
wouldn't want you to cramp my style.
That's true. I'll leave that to him. That's definitely his style. I don't know. The harness is my thing, but we'll make it work.
Monochrome with it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, can you imagine? Just a completely like monochromed version. Yeah. I'm going to ask Matthew the same question when he has his
Yes, so
launch.
Matthew's coming on Friday.
I will be there asking all the questions.
Oh, Asma says thank you.
Oh, oh, You're welcome. No, it was beautiful. I remember saying to her, sorry, could you just make me that, please?
Yeah.
Because I loved it. I think it was definitely, I was saying how quick it all feels. So you've got your head down for what feels like the majority of a challenge, and then you just have those moments where you look up and you gasp at what other people are doing, because you're in your own zone for so much of the time, but then you see someone else's. And I remember looking up and I was like, okay, wow, that's
You
amazing.
did so amazing.
Yeah, it's like, guys, so good. But honestly, I think that as well is one thing that I just loved, that you'd look up and just see so many different personalities in every single garment. Like, they gave us the same brief and
Yeah,
none of our outfits have looked the same. And I think that's amazing. I think that's so cool. There were times where we used the same patterns and
yeah.
they didn't
I think
even look
that's
the
quite
same.
inspiring as well, like to show people that you can make things your own style, like you just get creative with it.
Definitely. Yeah, and just whatever you love, go with that, and work from that. Use the pattern as like your building block. Use it as, ways to then alter it to make it your own. Yeah, a few of us love a pattern hack and altering and fitting, and you can just change that basic pattern and just
Yeah,
make it your own.
and
I
I've
do
heard
love
like
that.
pattern
So
designers say that they love that as well, like because people end up making things that they couldn't have even imagined
yeah,
with their patterns. I just think that's beautiful.
oh, I love that, because I think when you see a pattern, I don't know if you're the same, but when I see a pattern, I think, oh, I would so do it like this and I'd so do it like that. But then that's really, really personal. They may not think of that. That's why I love
Yeah,
stalking hashtags for patterns. So every time I want to sew something, I'll stalk the hashtag and just go through the hashtags. I think, oh, wow, that's amazing. I love the person that did it like this. And I like the person that color blocked it or changed it. I think
yeah. It just really
that's fun,
shows
isn't it?
like, because I think one of the best things about being able to sew is that you don't have the same clothes that everyone else has. So
It's beauty. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Everyone is going to have a unique, and even if you have made the exact same fabric, the exact same
yeah,
pattern, you're going to style it differently. There'll be times that like someone's wearing docks with them and another person's wearing high heels. Like, you can just make the same dress, for
yeah,
example, look
yeah.
so different.
That's
I
so
really
good.
love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right, I think it's time to wrap this episode up. But thank you so much for joining us, Lauren. It was so amazing to hear about your
Thank
sewing.
you for
Yeah, and
having
thanks
me.
everyone for asking questions in the chat as well. It makes it really fun to know what you are thinking as well. If you managed to catch the whole episode, I
Yeah.
will be uploading it to YouTube in a minute, which I think is a bit easier to watch back because you can like pause and stuff. Um, and I will be back tomorrow with Lawratu, who was in the 2021 series of Sewing Bee. So I'm really looking forward to that episode, and I'm looking forward to hearing about Lawratu's new lingerie supply business as well. So get your questions ready for Lawratu. And then on Thursday, I'm speaking to Jen, who runs Generates. And Friday, I'm talking to Matthew, who was also in the same series this year with Lauren. So yeah, drop me any questions you've got for any of the bees. Thank you for watching, Jessica. I'm glad you enjoyed the episode. And yeah, Lauren.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, bye, Lauren, and see you later, everyone else. Hopefully tomorrow.
Bye. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thank you for having
Bye.
me again. Bye.